1,000 subscribers. Thank you so much. I don't know what to say. I was surprised and happy when I got 10. So thank you. I'm aware that most of you, many of you, have subscribed because of the AVGN stuff, and I want you all to know that that means a lot to me. And even though I make some other videos, I don't want anyone to think that I'm abandoning those who have helped lift this channel from nothing to, something with a reasonable number of subscribers relative to the size of this channel, the amount of content and whatnot. So that's really, really, really cool. And again, thank you so much. So a lot of the AVGN stuff, if you're just interested in hearing me talk about that, I'm going to save that towards the end of this video so that, that'll be a sizable portion. I'll time code it. You could check that out. First thing I'll talk about is how I even got started with this channel. So this past year, my main focus has been, I want to do things that I've always wanted to do. In particular, I wanted to release a game this year, which I'm close to doing, and I wanted to start making some content on things I've always wanted to make. Most recently, you've seen one half of one of the most major pieces of content I've wanted to make, which was to analyze the early Super Mario Brothers games. And in particular, I was going to compare Super Mario World to Super Mario 3, which I always thought 3 was the superior game. And I had for decades, I've thought about these games and had a design analysis that I've wanted to do. The 3 versus World is way, way, way ambitious. So that's how I came up with the video that some of you have seen now. Another video I wanted to make was to rank every Angry Video Game Nerd episode. I thought in some ways from a video editing standpoint that was less ambitious, but for both the AVGN video and the Mario video, I wanted to have some other videos under my belt before I got to those, which I thought would require a little bit more effort and sophistication for them to be solid. So I started with my gratitude series as well as a couple of other things. And I knew that that series was very personal, which meant it wasn't necessarily going to get a ton of viewers, but I was actually really surprised that I was getting any. When I got 10, I was genuinely surprised. Like, why would anyone subscribe to this thing when I had nothing? When I had 25, kind of the same thing. Why are people subscribing to this thing? I know that's not a large number, but to me, I just kept thinking if I saw this channel, I wouldn't subscribe to it at all. I wouldn't even think to it. But I really appreciate that, and I thank you all for it. As far as what I plan to do next steps, the first thing I really do need to focus on is getting my game at least out the door in early access. I've kind of have two things happening where there's a group of people who want me to release this game and a group of people who want to see me do the AVGN rankings. And, the game needs to come out. It's been a while. It's been kind of delayed because of some of this other stuff. Good stuff, but it needs to come out. I'm ready to at least have an early access version of it. That might delay some things, but I do need to get that out the door. My gratitude series, I think, is going to be some less highly produced videos and me talking more into the camera like this. And there's some things I've wanted to talk about that, again, might not be for everybody, but bring some value. I'm taking, like a lot of people, my inspiration is James Rolfe and Cinemassacre. And so I, like a lot of others, have appreciated that he would do very highly produced content, but was also willing to talk to people, let people get to know him. That's some stuff I want to do as well. And hopefully, even if it doesn't resonate with everyone, it does resonate with some people and can slowly, over time, build some kind of community. My next Mario video, I don't know when that's going to come out. I believe that's going to be about like a 30-minute to an hour-long video. And I was surprised by how long this most recent Mario video took me. I have all the gameplay recorded, but I'm writing that over time. I know most of the things I want to say, I keep coming up with new things about these games that I want to write about. It could take time. I don't know. I really, 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 really want to do it, but based on responsibilities, it might not be the best thing for me to do at the time. Not that everyone is waiting and clamoring for it, but if you haven't seen my Mario video, my most recent one comparing Super Mario 1 to Super Mario World, if you like the AVGN stuff, you might like this. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek. it does insult a game that some people really love. But even if that's the case, if you don't take it too seriously, it's definitely my most highly produced video, and I would encourage people to give it a shot. It's meant to be lighthearted. Sure, I really don't like Super Mario World, but I give you, as a game developer, I give you my design analysis, which I do think is solid. Doesn't mean you can't enjoy the game. Like that doesn't take away your memories of this game. Like the game is fun for people. I have fond memories of the game. In fact, one of my favorite memories in gaming history was completing Star Road and getting the coins that say I think you are a special player or you are a super player. So I totally get it. It's not to dump on your favorite thing or your childhood. It's a design analysis that's also meant to be done in a lighthearted, funny way, because I thought otherwise it would just be kind of boring and dull. If I just do like a Poindexter-y kind of design analysis. I actually recorded some of it was like that, and I re-recorded it because I just thought, I hate hearing myself. But when I picked up the energy and it was, free-flowing and fun and goofy and ridiculous, I was like, yeah, I like that. And I think I want to really stick with that. That voice is something I started to develop in the AVGN videos that I was doing. And I started to realize, I think my favorite types of videos to do and the angle I would like to take as I make more videos would be to do analysis of things in a fun, lighthearted, comedic way where my eccentricity comes out and shows in its most authentic form. There's always this talk about things like plagiarism and stuff like that. And to me, I don't worry about that because I'm like, you can't plagiarize me. I'm just going to be me. And I think at the very least, whatever I give is going to be unique to me from my perspective and in my voice. So that's fun for me. I really love breaking something down into its finer parts and trying to understand why something works and why something doesn't work. And so that kind of segues me into the AVGN stuff. So like with the Mario stuff, it was like I loved Mario 3 and I kept going back to that and not going back to Mario World. And I just over years would just try to dig through why. What is happening here that I like about one and not the other? And so I wanted to kind of like peel the curtain back on that and lift that. Well, the same thing with the AVGN. So I'm going to talk about, now it's going to be all, for the most part, we're going to get into all AVGN talk. So if you want to hear about that, but most of you who subscribed, again, thank you. Most of you are here for that. So I became a fan of the nerd, I think like 2008. It was actually a girl from college who introduced me to him. And I won't go through all of my fandom, but that's kind of how it started. And even up until like 2015, 16, 17, there weren't really many episodes I quote unquote hated or thought were terrible. There were some I liked more than others. And around that time, I thought, wouldn't it be cool to rank every one of the episodes? And I don't know, it was like 150 by that time. I don't know what it was, 100, 150. It was more than 100 because Rocket Robot was before then. But, it's somewhere after 100, before 200. And I had this spreadsheet. I was ranking them. I was doing little blurbs. They would usually be a few sentences to a paragraph long. And it was a time when I felt like there was kind of a lull in the content so I could, manage this. And then I want to say it was like 2017. It was a period that I was not a fan of. And more content started coming out. And I just kind of kept watching it and thinking, I don't really know I have much to say about this. And it kind of stopped me from keeping up with writing copy for these episodes. And I kind of just gave up on the idea of ranking all of them. So if you did see my Mario video, you'll notice I thank basically two groups at the end of it. Red Cow Arcade, which a lot of you I'm probably familiar with them. I found out about them, like a lot of people, by their commentary on Cinemassacre. I thought they were hilarious. I joined their Discord. And, Frankie in particular is really great about encouraging people to create content. And so it kind of got me in that headspace, and which I had already been thinking about doing and wanting to do. And early on, when I was in that Discord, I mentioned I always wanted to rank all of the episodes. And I think it probably was, because at the time, I know everybody in the Discord. I think it was Jason Graves, who had been on that podcast a few times, whose channel is growing and growing more and more. And I really love seeing it. I think he's really funny. And it's just really cool to see. Like, I felt like when I first got to know him, it was like 4,000 people, and now it's like 8,000 subscribed to his channel, something like that. And when I mentioned the AVGN ranking, he's like, "Oh, that's really cool. You have to do that kind of thing." It showed a lot of enthusiasm. And months later, maybe, whenever it was, I released my first AVGN video. He had reached out to me in the Discord, and he was like, "Hey, Anthony, I really love that ranking idea. You haven't done it. Would you mind if I, did it, took a stab at it?" I was like, "Yeah, go for it. Like, you don't need my permission to do something like that. Like, have at it." And at the same time, and I did mention this, I was like, but I guess I would like some credit for that idea. Why don't I do something? Why don't I make a tier list video? I'm sure I could on the fly do a tier list style video. And I was going to do that. And I went back to my Excel sheet with all of my rankings. And it wasn't complete, but there was a lot. And I looked at what I had at the time were the bottom 3 episodes. And I saw my writing for that, and I was like, kind of like this. What I wrote, I kind of like some of this. And I can't do this in a tier video. So I kind of want to do this. And so that's how I came up with the idea of, well, instead of trying to do 220-ish episodes in one video, which I just knew I just couldn't do, and certainly not do it with the amount of analysis that I wanted to give these videos, because I didn't want to do the let's just, all right, this one next, okay, this one, here's a couple of things next. That's not me, and it wasn't going to work for me. And I started to develop a thesis about what I really liked about an episode, what I didn't, what I thought worked, what I thought didn't work. And so I looked at what I had were my bottom 3. I'm like, these are separating themselves from the other ones that I had ranked. As these are clearly my bottom 3 from the other ones. And then I looked at all the videos that I hadn't watched in a while, because I had watched every episode, but there were some I hadn't seen in a while. And I kind of quickly glanced at them, and I was like, yeah, I don't think any are any worse than these, or certainly not much worse. And so I came up with the idea of, all right, let me put out an F- tier, put it out there, just get it out the door. So this way I could say I started this list, and over time I'll get through the rest. And it's one of those things with the nerd, that the nerd could get a lot of heat, if you will. And I didn't. And so on one hand, I'm putting it out there thinking, yeah, I quickly edited it. It was relatively quick. And I'm thinking, no one's going to watch this. And at the same time, it's like, a lot of people might because of what it is. So if I had known that as many would have watched it as did, maybe one of my rankings would have been different. So Vegas Stakes, for me, that was going to be the bottom. I understand it's maybe not objectively the worst for everyone, but for me, I couldn't stand watching every second of that episode. It just had to go at the bottom. It was a bit of a subjective take, but it was at the bottom. I hated that. Kingdom Hearts is less controversial. It's just widely not people's favorite. So Hudson Hawk is the one that maybe would not have gone that low if I had a chance to go and rewatch some of the episodes that I have recently and realize, oh my God, there are still some that are astounding. And there's one in particular that I didn't even remember, and then I rewatched and I'm like, oh my God. So I can't wait to show that one because it's pretty astounding. It's pretty rough. So when I put it out there, the first day it got 32 views. I'm like, oh, that's really disappointing. And then it was 500, and then it was my first 1,000 viewed video. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And then all of a sudden it's 3 and 5, and then by now it's 28,000, that one video. And so relative to anything I've done, that blew up. And so then the subscriber count kept coming up, And this is a reason I didn't do a thank you video sooner. I did one when it was 10 people. And then for this, I'm thinking, okay, I'll do it when I get to 100. But then 100 became 2, and then it became 5. And I'm like, all right, I don't know when this is going to end, so I don't know when to do this thank you video. And now it's kind of settled in at 1,000, so this is a good time to do it. Now, in terms of the videos themselves, and I'll talk a little bit about my approach and some of the next steps. People have justifiably asked and questioned why it is I'm doing like one episode at a time. I won't say that they're all going to be one episode at a time. I don't have a rule per se. I know that where I'm at in my life right now, with my schedule, with things that are structured, with responsibilities, the idea that I could just focus on doing like 10 episodes at a time, it's just not something I could do right now. The other thing is, I also still consider myself learning. So I rather make something really, really, really good and tight, learn from that, and then make another thing and make that better. Learn from that, make it better. And so that's why my most recent video, I think, is certainly my best produced in terms of all of my videos, my Mario video. And I do think the nerd videos get better and better in one sense. The other thing is, I really would rather give you 5 minutes of quality work where I focus in on it. And I'm confident that dramatically improved my Sega Activator episode. I rewrote that once or twice, and it's way better for it. That episode was going to be like a short one, and then like a bunch of others that I ranked, and then I realized I had a bunch to say about it once I watched James's commentary, and it just changed the tone of it. I rethought it, rewrote it. It's a way stronger episode than it otherwise would have been. So that's kind of my thing. If I think I have a strong 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6, whatever it is, maybe 10, I'm going to consider putting that out there. So how am I going to do all of them? I mean, one of the things is I kind of think of them almost as AVGN episodes themselves. Like, okay, you know, every few weeks, a month or whatever, you get a 5 to 10 minute episode. Back when the series was good. Because to me, when they were like 26-minute episodes, I just think they got padded and they weren't that good. So right now what I'm doing is this. So I don't run into a thing where I feel I'm not 100% happy with the ranking, though I'm fine with where they're at. I'm going through the rest of the episodes over again. Even though I have watched all of them, I want to rewatch them, write stuff down as I see it, and then start recording from there. The frequency at which they'll come out, I'm not 100% sure yet. Like I said before, I do have to release my game. Once that's done, that might start to increase the speed of these episodes. That being said, someone did reach out to me recently. I thank this person a lot about helping me edit these videos. I was not expecting that at this point. I don't know that I'm deserving of that, but someone's interested in potentially doing that, and I'm not going to just say no. So I'm working with this person to do a trial episode to see how that goes. And if I'm happy with the process and happy with the results, I'll continue to go down that path, and it'll be a lot easier to just start, releasing a bunch of these. And then naturally what I'll do is, for those people who want the next thing as quick as possible, I'll give them the next thing as quick as possible. For those who rather see these in chunks, and maybe that's just the algorithm itself, I'll probably lump some together and then get them out the door, lump another group together, get them out the door. So I figure, it's going to take me a while to get through 200 episodes, 220-ish episodes. So I may as well do one really, really, really strong, and then keep iterating and iterating and iterating. And then I could always package those up later and send them out as groups. And, what I'll probably end up with is a new video of like the bottom 10. And then I'll have an F tier. I'll have what I'm calling a boring tier. These are episodes that they're not horrible, but they're so boring I don't have that much to say about them, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want people to know, I even though not every video I put out is one of the nerd videos, I am really grateful, and I don't want anyone to ever think I've forgetting about them, because I have all the gratitude that I know that the vast, 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 vast majority of you who subscribed are subscribing for that. At the same time, it can't, for me, for a number of reasons, can't be the only thing that I do, but I do love doing them. And honestly, they're kind of, the return on investment for me on those videos are really high. Like, they're the easiest ones for me to do in a lot of ways, while also being the ones that get the most attention. So it's kind of silly for me to not do them. I like doing them a lot, but I want them to be really strong. But I also want to make sure that I'm diversifying and giving people a variety of content so that people could come and have a lot of different reasons to stick with it. And again, Cinemassacre in a lot of ways is the inspiration, right? That, when was it at its best? When it was like, you know what's bullshit, Monster Madness, Board Games, Turtles Tuesdays, all kinds of cool stuff. So I'm not saying I'll ever be that, but you know, I don't know where this is gonna go. I mean, I'm not like necessarily saying this is gonna be a career for me, but it'll always be a part of my life, I think. And so I want to keep putting stuff out there that people like. So thank you all again for really sincerely, that anyone has, you know, the vast majority of you have all been great. Even the criticism, I don't mind at all. Like, not even a little bit. So I appreciate that engagement too. And even then, it's been actually quite not that much considering. So, again, thank you all again. And I started thanking, but didn't finish. But, you know, again, thanks to Red Cow Arcade, I learned a lot just by connecting with them. Frankie in particular has always given me feedback, which has always been awesome. And then Jason Graves, you know, I told him, like, why don't you make the nerd videos too? Like, you said you wanted to do the rankings, why don't you do it? And he said, no, I just mentioned it so that you would finally do it. So that was cool. That was a thing I didn't finish saying, which was like, he encouraged me to just finally put something out. And so that's how it came to be the way it was. So thank you all. Sorry, this is a bunch of rambling. If you have any questions, you know, feel free to comment. But, you know, appreciate it. Thank you.